Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host.
Riley Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Hit it, Nick. We are back with another awesome week of Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast. Charlie, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. The Cubs, how they doing? Just a pulse check real quick.
We're officially where you're sitting. We're officially into March, and they have
Yes.
still yet to be defeated.
I mean, mind you, it's spring training, but I mean that has to
That's
be pretty
I'm,
cool.
it's just a statement. I'm not taking anything out of it. I'm just stating a fact.
Exactly. I cannot say the same about the Mets, but you know what? We're not playing our stars. You're not either, but we're playing our stars about every other day, which means this Sunday I am going to Fort Myers. Well, we're going tomorrow. We're going to go to Fort Myers. We're going to see the Boston. It's the home of the Boston Red Sox spring training. And we're going to see them play the Minnesota Twins tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we're staying overnight in Fort Myers. And Sunday, we're going to see my New York Mets. And the only time they're going on the west coast of Florida on Sunday to play the Boston Red Sox. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. And
That
and
that
from my
sounds fun. That'll already be your fourth park of the spring.
yes,
Wow,
yes, it'll be my fourth. Yeah, willy nilly.
that's impressive.
um, it's a lot more than I've usually done. I really do have the baseball fever this year. I don't know, maybe signing Juan Soto helped.
Yeah, and maybe how far you guys went the year before when you basically wrote them off in game five.
Why
Like
would
that.
you do that,
What?
dude?
I'm
What?
just I'm
Wow. Wow, really? Oh,
what?
okay. Wow, what?
Isn't that not what happened? I forgot.
You're so bad.
I get it.
You for
I
wait,
buy the hype too.
wait, you forget? You don't forget a freaking thing. What are you talking
That's the
about?
problem.
Like that's like man. Oh,
Hey,
you
there's
like
nothing to be upset about. Mets had an
no, I'm
unbelievable
not
year.
upset. I'm not upset. I'm just
You sound
saying.
upset.
No, no.
A little
What are you
bit.
talking
A
about?
little
I'm
bit.
smiling. For our viewers that are one viewer that maybe watch on YouTube, I'm smiling. All right. Speaking of we do have another episode that is coming out this week, just for our listeners to know. We have a movie Oscar preview special with your great buddy and now my friend Sam, the professor, is
Resident
joining
movie
us.
expert.
Yeah, so check that out also. So if you're listening to this episode, there's going to be another one right after this. So check it out with the professor. It is a great episode. We have a lot of great discussions and just check it out. But we're talking regular pop culture this week in sports, of course, and we got to start off with Deal or No Deal Island. Um,
Yeah, it's narrowing down.
dude, it wasn't gonna be the way I would have played the game to let kind of David and Poverty kind of run the challenge.
Yeah, it seems like they're still kind of in like I don't want to say celebrity awe because they don't even really know about David, but they know poverty. But they're kind of yeah, it kind of seems like they're getting swept up by it. I think a few of them are realizing it, but they're on the outside anyways. So
I understand there's some beef between like one side and the other, and I think if they want to survive, CK has to join with Philip and with what's the young lady? I forget Philip's friend.
Letty,
Letty, Philip and Letty, that she has to join with them. Otherwise, I'm telling you, Poverty, David, and by I guess, by default, Dixon are going to eat them alive.
yeah.
Fair enough. I
I
mean,
mean, the preview for the following episode, I don't want to give away too much, but it did seem to be like Dixon was leaning into being able to play both sides because he's kind of square in the middle.
and we
He's got
know
the
they
whole family thing with David in poverty, but he feels a little betrayed because of her decision, which we'll get to.
well,
But we'll see.
and we know the editing hasn't been the greatest, so it's possible that that's exactly what happens. Sometimes in reality shows, and we're going to talk about the Traitors later in the episode, where the editing kind of leads one way and we don't know exactly what. And Yeah, NBC, stop with the freaking, and Peacock is part of NBC. Stop with the, we'll talk about this later, but stop with the cliffhangers,
Yeah,
please.
it seems to be a big part
Enough.
for a lot of people. Stop it.
Ugh, stop it.
Can't we have
Stop
a
it.
can't we have a society with a good old Survivor where you get a result every episode?
Exactly,
We'll
right?
talk
Like,
about that later too.
yeah, just don't mess with the format. I mean, Amazing Race started to do that too. I know you don't watch that,
Or
but a
maybe
couple
let
of
the
seasons
fans have a
ago.
little input on the format. Survivor again, just saying.
I know, and yeah, we'll definitely talk about the premiere of Survivor this episode for sure. But on Deal or No Deal Island, we have David and Parvati. So the challenge is basically similar to there was another show we saw that had a challenge where they would leave somebody. Oh,
It was Traitors.
Traitors.
Yeah, where they left them on the rafts. It's
It was
exactly what you're
similar to
thinking of.
that.
Very
Yes.
similar, yes.
And they would just leave
Just far
people.
less people.
Yes, exactly.
Because that was like
And
our week one Traitors when there were still like 20 people.
so this is the point in the game where I think, the lesser kind of gamey players should get together and say, we're not going to let these guys just steamroll us. And what they should have done was left Poverty and David first. Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing? What are
yeah.
you doing? Like,
They probably didn't know what it fully entailed. And when, at the beginning, you thought it was like this like long hike. So you
I
saw all the
guess.
strong people in the beginning, but I get what you're saying.
Oh, I was like, what do you do? Like, dude, like seriously, like that. Oh man. So
Yeah.
yeah, they of course they started leaving players, and it ends up when they do a zip line a la Mole. I mean, Mole had that kind of challenge, which is interesting because I'm afraid of heights and I don't know how I would handle that challenge. But it ends up Parvati, of course, and David get the last two cases, and of course the two highest amounts, so they're both safe. And now was it David had to make the decision on who to face the banker, and there was some
No,
discussion.
poverty. Poverty
It
decided.
was Poverty. Okay,
Because remember, that's
that's
where
right.
to get to the last person to be left behind was Lachelle, and she basically told her, "Hey, we got you." But she
Yeah.
also had told Dixon, "We got you," and she didn't know what was going on back at the part where the other ones were already left, which was they got an offer. If they could agree between the four of them, three of them would automatically be safe from the banker, not elimination safe, but from the banker, and then the fourth person would just be out on the bottom up to play the banker with whoever comes back next, which then happened to be Lachelle. So little did Poverty know she was making an empty promise at that moment to one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful playing on a reality show what kind of promises you make because you're gonna have to break if especially if they're parallel, you have to break one eventually. And that's not good for your game. And I think Parvati realized this and realized that she was like in between a rock and a hard place. She had her son, part of the family, Dixon, which as a grown man, I would kind of be insulted by somebody calling me their son, but I am a little older than him. But still, like, yeah, I don't know. And so, she has to choose between, of course, her son and Lachelle because, yeah, those were the two that were up to face the banker.
Right.
The others weren't safe, but they
They just
didn't have to
couldn't play
face
the
the
banker. They were
banker.
safe from the banker. Right.
Right. So she picks Lachelle. As soon as she picks Lachelle, here's my thinking: oh, Philip's safe because there's no way Lachelle would have gotten rid of Philip.
Yep.
And I'm watching the show, as knowing Philip and a Philip fan and hoping Philip gets far. And as soon as she picked Lachelle, I'm like, okay, Philip's good this
Yeah.
episode.
Lachelle is gonna pick someone that will send a message, and it's not gonna be Philip.
She would have picked Dixon 100% to go
Yeah.
home if she had won. Unfortunately, here's my thing. I'm all about doing good for the group, but in that scenario, I wouldn't have taken that deal. The odds weren't there. The
Right.
money was there, and I understand her thought process in adding money to the pot. But at the end of the day, and listen, I mean it's a reality show. If I'm not going to benefit from that money being increased, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do what's best for me.
Yeah.
You know,
She
like
she on her way out, she said that she felt the game was getting to a point where it's getting a little brutal and she didn't know if she had it in her. I don't know if I buy her actually believing that. I think that's to your point. She probably was not making the best decision and then she realized, well, whatever, this is what I'll say to get out of it.
I'll say this. How do you go through the grueling casting process? And we know, I mean, for a game show, it's not even as bad. And game show was a lot of stuff that we had to do. How do you go through the grueling, psychological test, background check, all that stuff, and then say towards the end of the game that you don't know if you can do it anymore? Like, I don't get
Yeah.
that. Like, I don't physically understand that.
Let's play it out. Let's say she said no, okay? Worst case scenario, she eliminates one case. There's still a 50-50 chance that it's 1.5 million. So the offer still, I mean, the offer would have gone down, but it's not like it would have gone down to zero. It would have still
Right.
been a pretty good offer. And then at that point, she would at least had a 50-50 chance to stay in the game or not.
Yeah, she
So
had, I mean, what was it? 1.75 million was in her
no,
case? Oh,
1.558 was the
oh,
offer.
okay.
But
Okay. What was her?
1.75 was the second case. There was also a 2.5 million case and then the one penny.
And she had how much?
The offer was 1.5 essentially. So it was basically it was a pretty good offer from that standpoint.
But
But
her case was like 1.7 or something like that.
yes, at 1.75.
Yeah,
She had the 1.75.
got it. I mean, I get it. But I'm all I'm telling you straight up, if I was to play that game, I'm not taking an offer that's less than 50% odds of winning. Like
Yeah,
I'm just not doing it.
you're
And
playing to stay in the game.
and
If
do
you
you
if you
know?
only add if you only add 900,000 or a million instead of 1.5, but you stay in, that's better.
And you're a stats guy, right? You watch the shows with me. Like, I would say a good portion of the offers are like 50-50. I mean, they don't really
Yeah,
play around with that. It's really,
it's
and so
always better if you can get it the odds in your favor, which sometimes it is. But
sometimes it's like, there are three cases
Jason had
higher,
it in
one
his
lower.
favor.
He did. That was a really good. I kind of will do like I think that that's the best scenarios when you're like a 3-1 type of thing,
Yeah,
and you have a shot. And again, at the end of the day, you still could lose that. I mean, that's what odds are about. They're not full. But yeah, so Deal or No Deal Island. Can't wait to watch the rest of the season coming up. Still rooting for Philip, and hopefully it works out. So we now going to second base. We got to talk about Traitors. Oh my God, dude. I was pissed. I'm going to start that out right
yeah.
away. I
You
was
you alluded to it
pissed.
earlier in the episode. You I
Oh,
did not know it was coming until you texted me. And then I was like, oh no. Immediately.
dude, dude.
They gotta stop
I
it.
I didn't want to spoil it. So here's what happened. I was on Instagram and reality TV fan, said, spoilers, you want to be spoiled. I'm like, I don't usually want to, but I don't know what it is. My eyes went right down to the end of the thing because that's where the spoiler was. And I'm like, no cliffhanger and you don't find out who Desir is. I'm like, what the
No.
freaking freak?
Hold on. Not no cliffhanger.
I mean, there's a
Double
cliffhanger,
cliffhanger.
right? Cliffhanger, and
Double
you don't know
cliffhanger.
who the seer is. And so I'm thinking, well, why bother watching the episode? Because quite frankly, we knew that she was going to recruit Brittany because Brittany was going down to the dungeon. So we knew that was happening.
Yeah,
And we knew too that Brittany was not going to tell her no. I
right.
mean, interesting. Let me give a little perspective to this. This season of The Traitors filmed about 2 months after Reindeer Games ended,
Wow.
which is interesting if you
Timing.
think of.
Timing is
Yes.
everything.
So for our listeners who might not know, Danielle Reyes and Brittany were contestants of Big Brother and were on the only season to exist of Reindeer Games. And there was a point, and I mentioned this before in Reindeer Games, where Danielle and Brittany were in a challenge, and Brittany gave Danielle a handicap. I don't remember exactly what happened. It was about the time with the wheel or something like that.
Yeah, it's
And
like a 30-second penalty or something.
yeah, and Danielle went home. That was it for Danielle. And so Danielle held this grudge that did kind of seep a little bit into the Traitors in the beginning. And so, but at the end of the day, Danielle felt that the only person that she could really trust in the game that's left, and honestly, I thought was a no-brainer, is to pick Brittany to to be a traitor with her. I will say, Danielle's not a very popular player from what I've looked at social media and everything else. They think that she did Carolyn wrong. Although I will argue and counter argue that Carolyn did Carolyn wrong because Carolyn didn't play exactly the greatest game either.
Yeah,
Um,
I I I see both sides of it as well. I think that I understand why people are upset with Danielle, but to your point, I will say they're playing a game of strategy, and
mhm.
I'm sorry, but Danielle played it better than she did, plain and simple. So
I mean, I think anybody who's in the mansion still played the better game. I mean,
yeah,
that's the
but
way
I
the
mean,
cookie crumbled.
especially the part where they were answering the questions. I mean, she walked Carolyn into a trap, and Carolyn sat right in it. So
She
I
ate it.
mean, she deserved it at that point. So they can complain all they want, but Danielle outplayed her in that.
And now I understand it a little more. I alluded to it in a text to you earlier. I watched like a best of Carolyn from her season of Survivor, so I got like a really good
You
gist
got the
of
Cliff
Carolyn.
Notes.
And I'm like, who searches for their son's poop for the tooth that he swallowed? Like that's like basically who Carolyn is, and her react like the tongue and their reactions on Survivor. She it's I
Yeah,
get it, and I get
still
why her
probably
and
worth watching this
Carson,
season.
yeah, and Bam Bam, is it Bam Bam?
Bam Bam. Yep.
He is the one that
Some
won the season.
legendary people on that season.
Yeah, yeah, and
I'm
Carson, of
sorry, we
course.
we did. I gotta correct that. It's a yam yam.
Yam Yam. I'm sorry. Bam Bam is the Flintstones.
Yeah,
But yeah, I will definitely go back and watch that season of Survivor. So let's real quick on Traitors. Uh they do this challenge, right? Which is basically an amalgamation of different challenges together. And
they brought back the stupid clowns again.
the clowns, and they basically had to memorize what balloons had money and what didn't, and they collected money as they went along, and there were several rounds if they wanted to go on, or if they didn't bank and they got a bad balloon, they would lose their money,
And
and
then they had the creepy dolls in the second round.
they pulled the string and the doll. I was wondering how random that was. That's interesting the way that kind of worked out. And you
Yeah,
kind of, all the amounts were the same in the order, which was interesting too. Um, and then they had the coins and the poop or whatever the coins were in. They made it feel like it
yeah.
was poop, whatever that
Because
was.
your Carolyn and Tooth story, it had you thinking about it.
Right. For the first time, though, we didn't see who won the challenge,
Correct.
which is odd.
We knew the leaderboard through round two. So we
I
basically knew it was between a couple people, more than likely. Because it's only $100 per coin. How many more do you think someone could truly
Oh,
find to get the
I
first?
think Danielle won, and I think that's why we didn't find out who it was. Um,
And Dylan noticing, was paying attention to how hard she was trying. He brought that up.
which bled into the
Round
interesting
table.
roundtable.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, I alluded to it. There we do not get a resolution in the roundtable either. There is a tie only
And a
because
revote.
the only reason why Ivar was even voted on was because of Dolores, and they needed to get the numbers, and Dolores wanted to vote for Ivar, and there was nothing that Danielle could do about it.
That
So they
can we briefly mention how unbelievable another great game moment by Danielle? As soon as Dolores said Ivor out loud, she looked at Brittany. They subtly looked at each other and both understood what was needed to do. And the fact that they did that is why we had the cliffhanger. If they aren't smart enough to pick that up, she's gone.
So let me ask you a question, and I asked you this on text, and we talked a little bit about it. The editing made it seem like Brittany was going to change her vote for Danielle.
Yes, and that's
Be,
what you thought. And personally, I felt opposite. I felt that was probably just an editing trick. I just don't see how there's just no upside for a game move at that moment for Brittany. people already think Brittany's a traitor, so keep her in as a shield. Option one. Two, the whole seer thing. If Danielle wins, she knows it's not going to be her. So if Danielle goes out, and what if someone else gets to see her and then can ask if it's Brittany? It could blow up her whole game. Danielle in for a little longer at least makes sense.
So what if, so let me ask you a question. If it does end up as a tie and they have to do some kind of challenge, I don't see Ivar beating
Is it
Danielle
a
in a
challenge?
challenge.
I thought he said it was up to chance. So
Oh,
I
up
was
to
thinking it was
chance.
more of like a
That's right.
coin toss.
Maybe that's what it
I have
is.
no idea. That was just the first thing that came to my head was
Interesting.
it's something 50-50. So maybe a coin toss, but
So
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out what Brittany's reaction was if it was an editing trick because she was like shocked.
I think it was, here's what I'm going to say, and you'll know this better than me, but a little thing that we did, there were moments where I saw you and I
Oh
saw
yeah.
me on episodes that we were not in studio for. So that could easily have been her reaction to the first moment someone said her, you know what I mean? That could have been a shot from 8 minutes prior in the round table.
They've
I think that's
literally
what it is. I'm gonna hope that it's editing. I just don't see her betraying her like that.
they literally had me on We Are Family jumping up and down to Joey Fatone. Folks, I was not in the studio for Joey Fatone.
There was an episode where you see both Cohen and myself in the same spot. So it's all in the details.
And that obviously is not possible because you took over for Cohen after Cohen
Correct.
was
We
left.
we
So
we shared the same seat. He had it first, and then it was mine. So
yeah. So interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens on the traders. Speaking of, we're just talking about Survivor. Let's go right into the Survivor season premiere.
speaking of a show that doesn't do cliffhangers, this is how a society
Survivor.
works. Okay, we live in to quote George Costanza. We live in a society.
Yes, we do.
Okay, we an
Damn
episode
it.
starts, and you know what? We're gonna get a resolution at the end of the episode because that's what Survivor does.
Can we please have a beginning, a middle, and an end, reality people? Please, NBC, for goodness sakes, stop with this nonsense of cliffhangers. You started that with that USA show, whatever that was,
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Duh, stop doing that. Like, what are you doing? They did it. They did it with Deal or No Deal
It's not
Island.
fun.
Uh,
We don't like it.
we don't like it. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah,
So Survivor doesn't do that. I will say,
that's why it's the
having
goat.
this is my third season back now that we've kind of it's Survivor. My only issue always has been with Survivor, and I'll tell you straight up, and why I kind of went off the beaten path with Survivor a little
Hmm.
bit. It is very hard in the beginning to get into. It is hard because the characters you're not.
You don't know anyone's name in the first episode. Totally, I
It's
understand
very
that.
surface, right? It's
Yep.
like I'm just watching a bunch of people on an island. That's how the first episode, or even the first several, like 3 episodes at least, until you get more into like story and drive, and so it's
Hmm.
hard. It's hard. It's
I get that. I get that. And that's why I think a lot of the times it's worth the payoff depending on the season. But let's just say, I think that as far as this season goes, I don't want to jump ahead to Tribal without talking about some of the episode, but I will just say to this point that we're talking about, Tribal started off hot week one. Hot. I can't remember. I saw one of I think it was Mike Bloom who tweets a lot about this, about the reality games. I think he also said it where I don't know there's ever been this tense and in like big, I want to say big tribal in week one before. Like
it was crazy.
that was wild. Like that felt like a week, like a day 26 Survivor tribal, not day two.
You want to
So
explain what
if that
happened?
bodes the season, I mean, we can go chronologically through it, but I just yeah, that just was a pretty big opening, I thought too. Yeah, so I mean,
But by the
you've
way,
only seen the last three, so for sure for you. But I mean,
can
there
we
was
just
nothing like
compliment
them.
how beautiful tribal looks? I mean, the look of it alone is like unbelievable. Like if how much work goes into this show. I
Yeah,
mean, it looked like a village.
I also thought that the immunity idols that they're playing for were
Beautiful.
super well done this year. Like
Yeah.
super, the detail on it was really good.
How I'm jealous that these they get to keep their torches. Their torches are actually mailed to them after the season. That is like
Yeah, that's
what a
awesome.
nice little award, you know, like that's good. Trust me, if I ever go on Survivor, that torch is going to be in the background forever. It's going to
Oh
be
yeah,
like
absolutely. Or Big Brother, you'll get, whatever they send you in the box.
the key, yeah,
The
the
key.
key and the
Yeah, you know what?
unitard.
The key could go right over your left shoulder, right there below the picture of you and Regis.
Yeah, they're not, you know, listen, Big Brother, call me. They're not calling me, so yeah.
Phone lines are open.
I've heard people have gotten calls already for casting. They have not called me, so there you go. Yeah.
They're waiting for an
They're waiting
even
for the
numbered year
moment.
for you.
It's
Yeah.
okay. You know what? I'm gonna apply for Survivor too. So we'll see how that goes. Survivor 51. Let's go. But yeah, but anything you want to kind of talk about with the episode other than tribal and
One thing that I think we just have to talk about because it was funny, but I definitely noticed it when it happened and rewound it, and people on Twitter also saw it as well. But did you notice? I think I sent it to you. Maybe I didn't. But did you see Jeff took a face
he
dive during the
fall.
challenge? God, I
He
just absolutely face planted and played it off very well.
like
Like
he did
nothing.
nothing happened. He literally
It was so quick that a casual viewer or or you're like looking at your phone would have never noticed it.
so
But
during
luckily there's
during
some eagle-eyed other people out there. People were so quick with it that I didn't even bother to video it because it was already up and yeah.
Peep, so just to kind of it was during the challenge. He ran into a device and he bounced off of it and landed and then bounced right back up, like almost like you he like the device was blocking him and you could see him kind of scoop up and just act
It
like
was almost
nothing happened.
mid-sentence.
Yes. I was like, wow, he bounced. I love to see another camera. I like to during the reunion maybe to see another camera angle of that. Oh man. Another momentous thing in this episode real quick is we can now vote for
Yes.
elements of Survivor 50, which I did. Did you vote for the live finale coming back? Cuz I did.
Um I think I voted no for that one.
Interesting. I
I
love
didn't
the
really
live
care one
finale.
way or another. I just kind of like them relishing in the moment of it right after the game ends and them doing it. But I mean, yeah, I guess if the old way, the live finale, they would wait months without knowing who won. So
Yep, I
this,
love that.
yeah, I was pretty neutral on it, but I think I did vote against it.
I think it's gonna win. I think that element's
I
gonna
do think you're
happen.
right on that.
And I like the purple color. And there was some debate. Apparently, people thought it was pink or purple, and it was purple. I like that color scheme because I haven't really seen that.
Yeah,
Um,
that one was another one where I didn't care too much.
I did. I want to continue the fire making. I like the fire making part of the game.
Yeah,
So
and it's I think it's an important strategy too for I've mentioned it before, but there's a season recently where that is a big decision to be made that I don't want to spoil. But what was the fourth question again? It
um,
was I can't remember. It was nothing huge. It was the
I
live,
don't
like you
remember
said, the
either.
live vote. Oh, was it? It was the rice question.
Oh, I
Should
said
they be
no.
given
They should earn
rice?
it.
Earn
I
it,
said they should
yeah.
earn it. I mean, that's a staple of the show. Why should they should work for it? These are all stars that are going to be on the show. These are people that have already played the game. They need to earn it.
Yeah.
Earn it. Yeah. Earn Flint, earn Rice, you know, the usual. Absolutely. Listen, I think it's going to be, it adds a fun element to the season 50 to watch in real time our votes kind of come out and see how it plays out. So, because we won't find out until that season airs. And if they do bring the live finale back with 50, so 50 is going, so 49 and 50 are going to tape this summer. That means 50 won't air. So they're going to have to wait 6 months, like you said, because and not even more than that, because it's going to tape in like June and they're not going to find out until like May.
So 50 would air like right now.
It would air
It would be
now.
the
Yeah.
second
In
one,
the
right?
winter.
So it would
Yeah.
be late
49,
February.
which works out for them because they can hype it as much as they want in 49. And
Yeah, but
I'm
then
sure
they
they
were
will.
waiting to, yeah, like 8 months, 9 months almost.
What's some locks you think for 50? I think Suri is absolutely going to be on 50. I would be surprised if she wasn't.
It'd be hard to not see her or Sandra, at least one of them.
Sandra, Suri, I think Carolyn too. Um, I found out the
I
trader's
wouldn't be
contract
shocked
is
if
only
Carolyn
six
doesn't
months.
get the nod. Well,
Interesting.
that one wouldn't surprise me as much. She was a little more polarizing, if that's
I'd
fair.
like.
Whereas like
I agree.
yeah, whereas like someone like say Suri or Poverty, someone
And
like that.
Jeff loves Suri.
Yeah, I mean Suri's one of the best players ever.
Yeah. I would like, and she
What if
played
they
Big Brother too good. Well,
what if
also.
Suri did well, it can't be 50, but what if Suri got to do something with her daughter?
Well, you do know that interesting that you bring this up because,
Amazing
and I
Race.
wanted to talk to you about this. The Amazing Race after the next season is doing a whole season of Big Brother contestants. Suri was a Big Brother contestant. It's very possible that we could see Suri on Amazing Race to complete the trifecta. We've never seen a Survivor player on the Amazing Race, I don't believe.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I
With Big
figured
Brother, we
CBS maybe.
have.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure one of our listeners will correct me if I am wrong, but interesting. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Yeah,
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to the season of Survivor.
me
Um,
too. We'll of course
the
be
first
talking
tribal
about
was
it.
wild. We had a big fight already, so it should be a good season.
We'll be talking a lot about it on this podcast, and can't wait to talk more and more and more about it. All right, so moving on to another one of our guilty pleasures, I will say, right?
Absolutely, and it had a lot of fun ones for at least for me this week.
Um, the floor, the floor. So the floor as on Fox. It's hosted by Rob Lowe, and I was watching it, and I was thinking, lots of Charlie characters. I mean, categories.
Yeah.
When I saw sports movies, I was like, oh my God, Charlie's going to be like boom, 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 boom. They didn't do that well.
No, they did not.
I
That
was like,
episode seemed like I was a writing credit on it somehow. I don't
yes,
I don't
yes.
know how, but I mean, we had sports movies, we had college basketball teams,
That's another one. Like,
and we
oh
had
my
God.
God.
Holy
I
cow.
know. It
I
was a
mean, that was
Charlie
like
Seymour episode.
they were just missing like cheese pizza places you can get pizza from.
I was
Otherwise,
watching. I was like, this is Charlie. It's like all Charlie, like almost all Charlie.
yeah. I mean, and then there was also another category that was easy. There was like what was it like everyday items or something or whatever it
Yes.
was just like literally naming an object.
I had Erica in tears as I'm trying to do the math one. it's, it's a multiple case. Erica's really good at it, and I was like making her laugh. So she was like trying to get the numbers out. I was like, what? And it was just funny. We're very interactive when we were watching it. And I was like, I think it finally came to one that was like 5 times 2. I'm like, 10. I was like,
You got
yes.
one. So you would have been eliminated in that one, huh?
Oh my God. Dude. It was so funny. So funny. But yeah, the floor on Fox. Watch it. Check it
We
out.
also had Brian win another 20.
We
He's up
did.
to 60
They just
now.
handed him that money, and from the
Well, he did get
spoilers,
challenged this time, and so he added two more pieces to it.
From the
to it.
spoilers, I see that there is a player that gets to like 120 or something like that. Like, so I think that's Brian. I mean, the way it's looking.
120,000?
I mean, wait. So 60, another 20, another. Yeah. Yeah. There's a player that keeps winning that. So I think it's
Oh, then it
Brian.
has to be him. There's no way
Yeah.
someone, everybody else has zero.
They basically gave that away like in
Oh,
the
I didn't
beginning of
notice
the
that. Was that in the
season.
trailer?
Yeah, in the season. Yeah. It's like, and we've had the player who wins and wins and wins. And I'm like, it has to be Ryan.
Yeah,
So interesting. Uh, I will say the way the floor is designed, you could play the greatest game, but you just have to lose one duel and you're done.
absolutely. And hey, but
So
if he
it's
can do
very
that and
hard.
take 120,
I will take
that's almost
100.
half of what the winner will get.
It was a very poignant moment when he did the confessional, and he was saying, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm an actor, I have a lot of money." He goes, "No, I mean I struggle just like everybody else," and he was literally almost in tears, and I was like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
go, dude, you
He's
go,
like, he
dude.
said
I'm rooting
what it would
for him."
mean to his family. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, great. And
absolutely. And
also in
now
some of the
he's
funniest
a big
movies.
storyline. You got to be rooting for him.
Absolutely. And we forgot, in our movie episode to ask the professor about him. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, we
We'll earmark that for the next one.
definitely. And that's another thing. If you haven't already listened, we have we had a great episode with the professor, Sam Frank, we go through a rundown of all the movies that are nominated for Best Picture and for other awards. And we talk about some honorable mentions that did not get nominated that Sam likes. And it was a really great conversation with him. So check that out on wherever you
Did
get your podcast.
did you miss any movies that you wanted to mention that you can just
No,
shoot out here?
I was hoping, there was a movie real quick that was at the Toronto Film Festival that hasn't really come out yet. It's called The Luckiest Man Alive, and the movie is about an ice cream truck driver who goes on to win a record amount of money on Press Your Luck, the game show. And
Oh
I,
yeah.
I've been waiting to see that movie and how it comes out. So yeah, but that's one movie that I am
And one I'll
excited about.
mention is one that I thought appropriate since we've mentioned it before was we didn't mention Saturday Night, but I think we have mentioned
Oh,
that
love that
before.
movie.
That was a solid one as well.
So good. So, great thing about Saturday Night is it's basically in real time, right, leading up to the premiere of the premiere episode. And yeah, it's a
Also
great
Inside
movie.
Out too. We mentioned a lot of fantastic animated
See?
movies. Another one too.
Yes,
Strong year for animated movies.
definitely. And if you missed, check out the episode for sure if you missed it. But, Sam mentioned in particular, don't forget the hundreds of beavers. So,
Yes, of course. I'd be remiss if we didn't shout it out because it's his life mission to make sure more people see it, and I
exactly.
support that mission. In fact, I'm gonna say that I will watch it in the next week or two.
I
It's
will
on my
too.
immediate list.
And I will too. So check out our movie Oscar preview special that's out with Sam. Had a great time with him, and thank him once again, Charlie, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was very fun.
Yes, definitely. This
And
has been
you
a
make sure you get some rest because I know you've got a nice drive to see your fourth spring training stadium tomorrow.
yes. I'm headed to Fort Myers to see
Very jealous.
the Red Sox and the Twins, and then on Sunday the Mets are playing the Red Sox. So I'm excited about
We
that.
are officially the calendar month in which baseball starts. How about that?
Yes.
How
Yes.
about that? Spring is in
When
the air.
when are the Tokyo games?
Very close. They're like the 17th and 18th.
The Chicago Cubs versus the Los Angeles Dodgers live at 6 o'clock in the morning from Tokyo, or actually 5 o'clock my time, or no, 7 o'clock my time, something like that.
Is it
Yeah,
seven? Is it
I
seven
don't
your
know.
time?
You
Well,
said it was some
I obviously
ungodly
could be.
hour.
It's 6:10 your time.
Oh, so it's 5:10 your time. That's
5:10
okay.
Chicago
Yeah,
time,
you'll be
and
up.
it's the 18th and 19th, Tuesday and
All right.
Wednesday.
So spring training is still going on.
Yeah, oh yeah. The Cubs have after those two games against the Dodgers, they play five more spring training games.
Wait. Let me conceptualize this real quick before
Yeah.
we sign off. We're playing
Hopefully the
spring
Cubs will be 2
training.
and 0
Wait.
before anyone else plays another game.
Playing spring training games. They're doing two regular season games in Tokyo and then going back to spring training?
Yep.
Have we ever done that before?
No. Oh, actually, I do think they did do it one year with the when they, but it might have been in Mexico or somewhere else.
That's crazy. Like that
Yeah.
boggles my mind.
And here's something even to boggle your mind more. Because not everybody has an opening day game on Thursday when the season starts. Some teams play Friday. The Cubs could have 3 wins before a team's even played. Because the Cubs play Thursday in Arizona. They have a 4 game set, which we will be at.
Yes, I'm excited for that. I'll be in New York when you guys are in Arizona. Um, Let me ask you a question, technical, okay?
Hmm.
Don't they have to finalize rosters before the season starts? How does that work if we're still in spring training?
So basically, for them, they will basically within the spring training roster,
Temporarily?
they will temporarily have a 26 man that they will go to Japan with. I think they're allowed to bring 2 extra players with because of injury or whatever they need to do. So I think they bring 28 with them as like extra. And then when they go back, spring continues. And then theoretically, people could get injured or someone else could switch and make the team. And it'll
So
be real
they're
interesting with the Cubs because at least one, if not two, of their infielders will probably not be ready for Japan. They should be ready for Arizona, but Nico Horner being one of them, he for sure will more than likely not be ready. And then possibly Matt Shaw. So theoretically, the Cubs are already going 27, 28 men, possibly. So
so they're not doing like a split squad thing where they're going to play spring training and then do the regular season
no,
games. They're going
nope.
to just pause their spring training
Anyone who doesn't
activities.
go with will still be working out in Arizona, but the Cubs won't have
Right.
enough players to be fielding a game. They have just the 2 regular season games, and then
Well, you
obviously
know,
the travel day before and after.
go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go and
Hopefully, it goes like spring
knock
training has
those
so far.
Dodgers out. I'll be rooting. I'll be wearing my Cubs hat. You better believe it. I'll be all
Hopefully, it goes like spring training has so far. No losses.
fingers crossed. All right, this has been Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host,
Charlie Seymour.
and I'm Tim Sternberg. Until next week, play ball. Bye, everybody.